Broken Vase by Blue Light 44, read by The Devil's Advocate 18. He really screwed up this time. Things had been going so well. He'd got to Gotham 1 month ago, and it was hard and weird, and everyone ate odd things, and they acted differently, but even if he wasn't ready to admit it out loud, he was starting to like it here. Father was not what he was expecting. Damian didn't have a word for what he was, but he supposed nice was the closest he'd get. There was also Grayson. He would often try to hug Damian at the most random times, and when Damian jumped away from him, he would get this sad look on his face that almost made him want to hug him back, but he hadn't gotten there yet. Of course, he was the demon's grandson, so he wasn't afraid or anything, but it was just still all so new. So that's why he stared down at the shattered vase. He was completely frozen. He hadn't meant to break it. He'd gotten distracted and bumped into the table the vase rested on, and hadn't even noticed it was about to fall. Otherwise, he would have caught it. If Grandfather saw him now, he'd be so disappointed. Such a stupid mistake, and someone with his training should have never made it. He stared at it for a moment longer. For a second, he saw the look on his grandfather's face in front of him. Then he blinked, and it was gone. He wasn't here. Damian was in Gotham, far away from him. But that didn't change the fact that he broke it. He suddenly snapped out of his haze and looked around the hallway outside the kitchen of Wayne Manor, where he stood. No one was here, nor did they seem to hear the shattering of the vase. He quickly knelt down and began gathering the small white shards in his hand. His heart was beating faster than he cared to admit. He hissed at the sharp sting on his palm and looked down to find blood pooling in it. He squeezed his hand shut in a fist, willing it to stop any blood from dripping onto the nice wood floors as he continued to gather more pieces in his other hand. "Damian?" He stilled at his father's voice. He wouldn't be afraid, though. He had dealt with many punishments when he was still with the League, and he could take whatever his father would do to him for this. He rose from his crouch on the ground, the cut hand clutched tightly to his chest. "Father," his voice was quieter than he intended. He turned around to find him standing behind him. "I'm sorry." He looked over his shoulder at the broken vase behind him, and his father followed his gaze. Damian watched his eyes as he looked over the broken vase. "Did you cut yourself?" Damian took a step back in shock at the soft tone of his father's voice. His eyes dropped to Damian's clutched hand, and he too looked down. Blood was seeping through cracks between his fingers. "I didn't get any blood on the floor, I promise." Once again his voice was quiet, and Damian chastised himself for showing any hint of weakness. That always made the punishments worse. His father just furrowed his brows and shook his head before stepping closer to Damian. "No, He seemed to realize something as a new expression took over his features. He'd never seen that look before, but it didn't seem bad. But that couldn't be right. He just broke one of Father's things. He should be furious. "Damian, I'm not mad." His voice was much softer this time. Damian sighed and lowered his eyes. "I'm ready for my punishment." A long silence fell over them, but he didn't dare look up. He only shifted the slightest when he saw his father's feet move closer to him. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "Oh, sweetheart." His voice was so soft, so new, and he felt a prickle behind his eyes. He couldn't cry. Grandfather hated that. "Hey, will you look at me?" He hadn't forced himself to look up. "It's just a vase. I have plenty." "What?" Barely heard himself speak the word. You're not you're not mad." He hated how vulnerable it sounded, but Father wasn't reacting as he thought. It would be a trick or a game to toy with him, but he didn't really think that was true. For some reason, this felt real. "I'm not gonna hurt you." He reached out his hand in the same way Grayson did when he would hug him. Damian didn't stop himself when he took a step forward, and then suddenly he felt his father's arms around him. He buried his face against his chest, and it felt warmer than anything he had ever known. Maybe Grayson was onto something with these hugs. Damian clutched his hurt hand and grasped into his father's shirt, unable to let go as he felt those tears so feared so much rush down his cheeks. They stayed there for several long moments before he felt his father pull away slightly, but still keeping his hold on him. Damian looked up to find him already looking at him. He reached up a hand and wiped a tear. The gesture made more tears fall. "Please don't cry. I would never hurt you." Doubt flashed through him, but he pushed it away and nodded slightly. He pulled his unhurt hand away and rubbed the rest of the tears off. "Sorry," he mumbled. "No, here." He pulled away, took a step back. "We need to put something on your hand." He missed being wrapped in his arms, but he couldn't help but be grateful for the moment to collect himself as his father gestured to follow him to the kitchen. He somehow felt like his father knew that. He took a deep breath and followed close behind. They reached the empty kitchen, and he sat in a chair that his father pointed to. He was in too much shock to tell him that he could bandage his hand himself, which he could, but someone was offering to take care of him. No one did that. He would take it while he had it, even if it made no sense. He must have been staring for a few minutes before his father was suddenly in front of him again, holding out his hand. "Can I see it?" His voice sounded a little more normal now, but his voice was still soft. He unwrapped his hand and some of the blood dripped off and onto the floor, but before he could snatch it back and apologize, his father's hand grasped it gently and placed some gauze onto it. He slowly cleaned it, and Damian didn't even register the pain. He just stared at his father's work. "Can I ask you something?" he asked. Damian nodded, unable to find any words. "Why did you think I would hurt you?" Damian didn't know why he felt shame flood through him. He had never known anything else. It's what grandfather always does. He could have sworn he saw the rage flash through his eyes, but it wasn't directed at him. Damian furrowed his brows in confusion, but he spoke before Damian could. "Did." "What?" "It's what he did. Not anymore. I won't let him hurt you again." Damian just nodded at his words, even if he didn't really believe them. They didn't speak again till he finished wrapping his hand. Father stood and turned around, going to grab something. Damian stared down at his hand. He hated to admit it, but it was far better wrapping than he could have done himself. Father was suddenly in front of him again, and he looked up to find him holding a glass of water. Damian took it and sipped at it as his father sat down beside him. "Oh, thanks, by the way." Damian's head snapped up at the words. "That vase was hideous. I've been trying to get Alfred to get rid of it for years." Damian didn't stop himself when he let out a little laugh. This was Broken Vase by Blue Light 44, read by The Devil's Advocate 18.